The comments poured in. Congratulations, inspiration, requests for catering services, and marriage proposals from strangers. But buried in the flood of positivity was a comment that made my heart skip. David Martinez, 87. You look happy. I stared at those 3 words for a long time. Through the Instagram algorithm's public data, I could see that David had been watching every story, liking posts from months ago, scrolling through my transformation in real time. My friend Monica, who worked in social media marketing, confirmed what I suspected. Girl, he's obsessed, she said over drinks at a rooftop bar overlooking the Chicago River. His engagement with your content is off the charts. He watches every story within minutes of you posting. He's probably refreshing your page constantly. That's disturbing. It's pathetic, Monica corrected, raising her glass. Here's to the man who gave up a queen because he was too bored to appreciate what he had. The irony wasn't lost on me. David had left because our life was predictable, routine, boring. Now he was trapped in the most boring routine of all, obsessively monitoring the life he'd walked away from, watching me thrive without him. Meanwhile, I was living the life he claimed to want. Every day brought new challenges, new opportunities, new adventures. I had traveled to New York for a collaboration with a celebrity chef. I had been featured in Chicago Magazine as one of 30 under 40 rising stars. I was dating again, nothing serious, but proof that life existed beyond the suffocating routine David had fled from. The pinnacle came in September, when I received a call that would change everything. Ms. Martinez, this is Rebecca Walsh from the James Beard Foundation. We'd like to invite you to cater our Chicago fundraising gala in October. The James Beard Foundation, the Oscars of the culinary world. I had gone from heating up frozen dinners for a disinterested husband to catering for the most prestigious food organization in America. That night, I posted a photo of the official invitation, my hands shaking slightly as I held the elegant card. Sometimes life has to break you down completely before it can build you into who you were always meant to be. This October, I'll be catering for the James Beard Foundation. The girl who was too boring is about to cook for culinary royalty. James Beard Foundation, a dreams come true. Sarah's second act, as gratitude attitude. Within hours, the post had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. Food industry professionals were congratulating me. Strangers were sharing their own stories of reinvention. But the notification that caught my attention came at 2:17 a.m. David Martinez, 87, liked your photo. He was awake in the middle of the night, scrolling through my success, watching the woman he'd discarded bloom into everything he'd never imagined possible. Chapter 4. The Perfect Life. The James Beard Foundation Gala was everything I had dreamed it would be and more. The October evening was crisp and clear, with a hint of autumn in the Chicago air. Inside the Palmer House Hotel, culinary legends mingled with food critics, restaurateurs, and industry innovators. And there I was, not as a spectator, but as the chef who had created the evening's magnificent spread. The lamb is exceptional, said Marcus Chen, a James Beard Award winner whose restaurant I had admired for years. You have a gift for balancing flavors, I beamed, still hardly believing this was my life. 18 months ago, I had been crying over burned lasagna while my husband packed his bags. Tonight, I was receiving compliments from culinary royalty. The event was a massive success. My Instagram post from that evening, me in my custom chef's coat, surrounded by award-winning chefs, holding a glass of champagne, garnered over 100,000 likes. The caption read, "From suburban housewife to James Beard Foundation caterer in 18 months. They say the best revenge is a life well lived. I say the best revenge is becoming so successful that your haters have to Google you to see what you're up to." James Beard Foundation, Shaker Chef Life. Level Up. Unstoppable. The comments were incredible. Offers for partnerships, congratulations from celebrities, and interview requests from major media outlets. But buried in the thousands of responses was a private message that made my hands tremble. David Martinez, 87. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time before clicking on his profile. David looked older, tired. His recent posts were sparse and melancholy. Lone dinners at chain restaurants, generic sunset photos, the digital footprint of a man going through the motions of living without actually engaging with life. According to mutual friends, his exciting new single life hadn't been as thrilling as he'd imagined. The dating scene for a recently divorced 39-year-old man was brutal. His small apartment in Lincoln Park was a far cry from the beautiful home we'd shared. His brother had grown tired of his constant presence. Most tellingly, he had started asking friends about me, trying to piece together the transformation he was witnessing online. I decided to meet him for coffee, not out of any desire to reconcile, but because I was curious to see the man who had once found me so boring that he'd thrown away a marriage. We met at a small cafe in River North on a grey November morning. David looked nervous, fidgeting with his coffee cup as I approached. I was wearing a tailored blazer, my hair professionally styled, confidence radiating from every step. The contrast between us was stark. "You look incredible," he said as I sat. Down. "I mean, you always looked beautiful, but you seem different." "I am different," I replied simply. "I'm who I was always supposed to become." "Sarah, I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I've been watching your Instagram, seeing everything you've accomplished, and I realize now what I gave up." I sipped my latte, studying this man who had once been the center of my world. "What exactly did you give up, David?" "You. Our life. Our future. I thought I was bored, but I was just scared. Scared of commitment, scared of settling down, scared of the responsibility of building something meaningful with someone else." And now, he leaned forward, desperation creeping into his voice. "Now I see what I lost. You're successful, you're confident, you're living this amazing life, and I'm—" He gestured helplessly. "I'm watching from the sidelines like some pathetic stalker. I miss you, I miss us." I set down my cup carefully. "David, there is no us. There hasn't been for almost 2 years. You ended our marriage because you were bored, remember? Because our stable, loving life wasn't exciting enough for you. But look at what you've become. You're exactly the kind of woman I always wanted to be with. Successful, independent, exciting." The irony of his words hung in the air between us. "I was always this woman, David. The difference is that now I have someone who appreciates it, me. I don't need your validation anymore. I don't need anyone's validation." As I walked away from that cafe, leaving David with his regrets and his coffee growing cold, I felt a profound sense of closure. The woman who had begged him to stay, who had promised to be more exciting, more interesting, more worthy of his love, was gone. In her place was someone who had learned the most important lesson of all. The only person whose approval I needed was my own. That evening, I posted one final photo, me in my kitchen, the same kitchen where David had announced he was leaving. But now it was filled with awards, congratulations cards, and contracts for future projects. The caption was simple. "The best part about building a perfect life isn't proving your worth to people who couldn't see it. It's finally seeing it yourself." Sarah's second act, self-love. New chapter, grateful. David's username no longer appeared in my list of likes. He had finally stopped watching, perhaps realizing that the life he was observing was no longer about him. At all. It was about a woman who had discovered that the most boring thing of all was staying small to make someone else comfortable. My phone buzzed with another partnership offer, another opportunity, another chance to build something beautiful. I smiled and got back to work, cooking up the next chapter of my perfectly imperfect, wonderfully unpredictable life. Chapter 1. The breaking point. The rain drummed against the windows of our suburban Chicago home as I stirred the pasta sauce, the familiar aroma of garlic and basil filling the kitchen. It was a Tuesday evening in October, and the autumn leaves outside had turned brilliant shades of orange and gold. I had spent the afternoon preparing David's favorite meal, hoping to rekindle some spark in our 12-year marriage. "Honey, dinner's almost ready," I called out, wiping my hands on the apron that read, "World's Best Wife," a gift from our anniversary 3 years ago. David appeared in the doorway, his tie loosened, briefcase still in hand. At 38, he was still the handsome man I'd married, but something in his eyes had changed over the past months. There was a distance there, a coldness that made my stomach clench with unspoken dread. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, setting his briefcase down with deliberate care. I turned off the burner, my heart already racing. Those 4 words, every married woman's nightmare. "Can it wait until after dinner? I made your favorite lasagna." "No, it can't wait." He pulled out a chair at our kitchen island, the same spot where we'd shared countless meals, planned vacations, and dreamed about our future. "I want a divorce." The wooden spoon slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. "What? David, what are you talking about?" He ran his fingers through his dark hair, a gesture I knew meant he was struggling with something difficult. "I'm bored, Sarah. I'm just bored with everything. This house, this routine, this life we've built. I feel like I'm suffocating." "Bored?" The word came out as a whisper. "We've been married for 12 years. We have a beautiful home. We're financially stable. We don't have kids," he interrupted. "We don't travel anymore. Every day is the same. You come home from your part-time job at the library. I come home from the office. We eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed, rinse and repeat. I'm 38 years old and I feel like my life is over." I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. "So you want to throw away everything we've built because you're bored? David, marriages go through phases. We can work on this. We can go to counseling, take that trip to Europe we always talked about. I've already made up my mind." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I've talked to a lawyer. I'll be staying at my brother's place until we figure out the details." The kitchen felt like it was spinning. This man, who had promised to love me through sickness and health, for better or worse, was walking away because our life together had become predictable. "Is there someone else?" "No, there's no one else. I just need something different. Something exciting." He stood up, straightening his jacket. "I'm sorry, Sarah, I really am, but I can't pretend anymore." As I watched him walk upstairs to pack his things, the lasagna burning forgotten on the stove, I felt something inside me break. But underneath the devastation, a small flame of anger began to flicker. If David wanted excitement, if he thought our stable, loving life was boring, then he had no idea what he was about to lose. Chapter 2. The Awakening. 3 months after David moved out, I sat in my divorce attorney's office in downtown Chicago, signing papers that would officially end my marriage. The January snow fell heavily outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, blanketing the city in pristine white. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life unfold. "The settlement is quite generous," my attorney, Margaret Chen, said as she reviewed the documents. "He's agreed to let you keep the house and half of the joint savings. His guilt is working in your favor." Guilt, as if that could undo the humiliation of being discarded like an old sweater that no longer sparked joy. I signed my name with careful precision, each letter a small act of defiance. Walking out of that office, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: freedom. For the first time in 12 years, I didn't have to consider anyone else's needs, preferences, or schedule. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. That evening, I stood in my empty house, our empty house, and made a decision. If David thought I was boring, if he believed I was just some suburban housewife with no ambitions or dreams, then I would prove him spectacularly wrong. I pulled out my laptop and created an Instagram account, as Sarah's second act. The first photo was simple: me in my kitchen, flour dusting my apron, holding a perfect loaf of sourdough bread I'd just baked. The caption read, "Day one of my new life. They say the best revenge is a life well lived." Let's see about that. Dust divorce, glow up, jar new beginnings, die bread making. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years began following, commenting, sharing their own stories of reinvention. But it was the message from my college roommate. "Jennifer, that changed everything. Sarah, I can't believe you're finally pursuing your passion for cooking. Remember how you used to talk about opening a bakery? My company is looking for someone to run their corporate catering division. The pay is double what you were making at the library. Interested?" That night, I called Jennifer back. "Tell me more about this job. It's perfect for you. You'd be developing menus, managing a team, coordinating events for tech companies in the loop. It's exactly the kind of creative, challenging work you always dreamed about." Within 2 weeks, I had traded my quiet library job for a bustling career in corporate catering. The work was demanding, exhilarating, and everything David had claimed our life wasn't: unpredictable, challenging, and full of possibility. I documented everything on Instagram: photos of elaborate corporate lunch spreads, behind the scenes, videos of me directing my team during a high-stakes board meeting catering, snapshots of my morning runs along Lake Michigan as the sun rose over the water. Each post was a testament to the life I was building, the woman I was becoming. The followers kept growing: 500, then 1,000, then 5,000. Food bloggers began reaching out for collaborations. Local Chicago magazines wanted to feature my story. But the notification that made me pause came on a snowy February evening. "David Martinez, 87, started following you." My ex-husband was watching. Chapter 3. Rising. Success by summer, my life had transformed beyond recognition. The Chicago heat shimmered off the pavement as I walked to my car after successfully catering a wedding for 300 people at the Art Institute. My team had executed the event flawlessly, and the bride's mother had actually cried when she tasted my signature lavender honey cake. Sarah's second act had exploded to 50,000 followers. Food Network had called about a potential show. A publisher wanted to discuss a cookbook deal. The shy librarian who used to worry about speaking up in book club meetings was now commanding rooms full of executives and giving interviews to local television stations. I posted a photo from the wedding, me in my chef's whites, surrounded by my incredible team, all of us grinning with exhaustion and triumph. The caption read, "When people ask me if I miss my old life, I show them days like this. Here's to building something beautiful from the ashes." Chef life. Wedding catering. Zen teamwork, a growth mindset.